Where do you even start? Where do you even start with that one? An abysmal evening. I mean, genuinely, from start to finish, that game was poor. It was irritating, and ultimately, if you get out of there with a 0-0 draw, you can take it. To come out with a last-minute defeat, that's tough. That's a tough one to swallow. The Declan Rice yellow card in the opening minute set the tone, and it didn't get any better. The referee didn't get any better. The performances didn't get any better. The passing didn't get any better. It was that opening minute. It was a sloppy, sleepy touch from Declan Rice. I think it was a touch. I didn't really even see what happened, but the ball went past him, completely lost it, and committed that foul. And after that, repeated errors that you don't normally see from the team. The goal that they should have scored in the first half, Saliba half asleep. So many poor touches, so many poor passes. And there were some stats that kind of actually, I thought, misled a little bit in terms of, at one point we had 94% pass accuracy. But so many of those passes, yeah, all right, they'd got to the player, but not how they wanted it to. Instead of being in front of Saka as he's running onto it, it was behind him and he had to go back and get it and you'd have to restart. And, there was one from Ødegaard where an easy pass into Saka and he overhit it and it ruined the attack. And, that happened time and time and time again. And that's something that we can control. Now, I'll talk about the referee. I'll talk about the Porto players and the way they handled themselves. But there were things that we could control there that we didn't control. We had no control over the game. We had a lot of possession. We had a lot of the ball, but we didn't have control over that game. We could have gone 1-0 down in the first half. We end up losing 1-0 in the final minute. And again, that Martinelli pass, symptom of the entire game. 30 seconds to go. And that, by the way, that wasn't just a symptom of the game in terms of being a poor pass, in terms of being a mistake that led to the goal. It was also naive. Because at that point, get out of there with a draw. At that 30 seconds on the clock, you do not lose possession from now until the end of the game. And we did. I think David Raya is at fault for the goal in a small way as well. I've seen a few people talking about it online. I don't know what your opinion is on whether David Raya should save that or not. But for me, there's not enough pace on the ball for that to fly past him the way it does. It doesn't really fly past him. It floats past him. He's probably 4 or 5 yards off his line. And I don't know why. And it means that he doesn't get to the ball. I think if he stood on his line, he gets the ball. So I think there's a number of players at fault for that. And again, it's cost us. You now go into the home leg. Porto can turn up. They can sit behind the ball. And we know they can sit behind the ball. We didn't have a shot on target in that game. That's going to be difficult. No matter what, that is going to be difficult. Porto's defense is very good. They've conceded 16 goals in the league this season. Their issue has been attacking, and we've given them the advantage now that we've given them a goal. Now, of course, it's not all doom and gloom. It's not all doom and gloom. We can beat them at home. We can beat them at home. Of course we can. But we've got to be so much better than we were tonight. So much better than we were tonight. On the referee, I thought it was pathetic. Every single time a Porto player got touched, they went down. They'd hold a random body part. They didn't even know what part to hold, and the referee would blow for it. In fact, we'll go and look at the stats. We'll go and look at the stats now because it was so poor. And I mean, look, this straight off the bat, this is a tale of the tape, right? When was the last time you saw that many oranges for an Arsenal team? That's not usual. Whereas you look at the Porto team, that entire back line and their 2 holding midfielders, all greens and blue for Otavio, who played really well for them. That's a problem. That's a problem for us. Declan Rice, the only player that was in the green for us, and that's just a symptom of the issues. But you look further down. I mean, great. We had momentum. We had the momentum. Means nothing. We had more of the ball. Brilliant. But look at this. Less than 0.5 XG. 7 shots, none on target. 1 big chance. I couldn't tell you what that big chance was, to be honest. Which we missed. Pass accuracy, it ended up actually dropping from 94% down to 87%. But you know, I still think that's a bit misleading. And this stat here, 36 fouls in one game of football. 36 fouls in a single game of football. It was ridiculous. And it was every time we touched a Porto player, they went down. That was it. What can you do? There's very little you can do in that situation. It's not even like you can, you know, it's you can't stop making any contact with their players. We need a stronger referee in the next game. We really do need a stronger referee in the next game because that's ridiculous. And then 10 corners, you know, and look, as good as we've been from set pieces, we won the header on a couple of those corners. You know, Saliba won a header, Havertz won a header, but we still didn't really trouble them. Again, they did just, you know, at one point, on one of our corners, there were 5 Porto players on the floor. 5 Porto players on the floor. None of them had actually been found. They'd all just flopped. It was like, you know, it was like they'd disconnected from the server and just flopped to the floor. Pathetic. Like, you know, someone said, and I tweeted it, someone said it in the live stream, it was like playing against 11 Bruno Fernandes. It really was that bad. But that's not an excuse. That's not the reason that we lost. It's part of it, but it's not the reason. The reason is that we weren't good enough. And is it naivety and immaturity? You know, is it the case that they bottled it? Is it the case that in under the big lights of the Champions League, in a big atmosphere, some players bottled it? Maybe. You know, I thought across the board we were uncharacteristically poor. I thought, you know, certain players that are normally our best players, Saliba, I thought was poor today. Ben White wasn't at his best. Kivior struggled. Saka and Martinelli just didn't get enough of the ball, I didn't think. The sort of duo of Havertz and Trossard didn't link up as well. I thought Trossard especially was not good enough. You know, really was anonymous for a lot of the game. And that is an issue that I've highlighted before on this channel, is that when Trossard isn't at his best and isn't performing, he's really not performing. There doesn't seem to be a mid-range with Trossard. You either get a really good performance or you get a really, really bad performance. And I felt like we got that today. The only change we made was bringing Jorginho on, you know, and that's partially down to, of course, the fitness and the players that we've got missing. Of course, you know, Arteta would have loved to be able to have Zinchenko and Gabriel Jesus, but we didn't have them. Jesus was the big miss. Jesus was the big miss for me. I think if we have Jesus in the home leg, he starts. You know, if he's fit, he starts. I think he's the sort of player for this sort of game that we really need. Ødegaard struggled, didn't get into the game as much. He was the culprit for quite a few poor touches, poor passes. And in the end, look, as much as they annoyed me, as much as I really didn't like the way that they went about the game, you've got to credit Porto. You do have to credit Porto. I think they were massively the underdogs in that game. I think a lot of people expected Arsenal to go there and win. And they were defensively resolute. They were defensively strong. The structure was good. On the couple of occasions that we did break through and break past them, Martinelli on one occasion, Havertz on another, they were happy to just pull them back blatantly and take a booking. And you know, again, this is where it sometimes does come down to maturity, actually. That is game management. That is understanding the level of top European football. Because I don't know if we've got the players to do that. And I think, you know, that naivety at the end of the game showed itself quite clearly. Look, these are issues. These are issues. It's not all doom and gloom, like I said. It's not the end of the road. We've got a second leg. We should beat them at home still. These are lessons. These are lessons to learn for young players. You know, there are a lot of those players that this is their first big knockout Champions League game. There are other players that I think should be stepping up that do have the experience. But for some of them, this is new territory. And that will be a lesson learned. Fine. We can accept that. As long as we go and win the home leg. Because going out to Porto in the round of 16 is not good enough. It simply is not good enough. There are no excuses for that. With the team that we've got, the way we're capable of playing, There's no excuses for us not progressing through to the quarterfinals. And look, it's 14 fucking years. It's 14 years since we made the quarterfinals of the Champions League. That cannot become 15. That cannot become 15. Look, it's been a very frustrating night. I appreciate those of you that were in the live stream. I appreciate those of you that have watched this video. Please drop a subscription if you're new. Smash a like on the video if you enjoyed it or if you agree with what I'm saying or whatever. There won't be a live stream tomorrow. Unfortunately, I've got a funeral just to really lighten the mood. But I'll be back on Friday evening for a live stream, 6:30, as usual. And hopefully, I mean, by Friday, we'll be previewing the Newcastle game. That's how quickly now things turn around. You know, time to regroup. 8 o'clock Saturday night, big game against Newcastle. At least we can put things right quickly. Have a good evening. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.